Welcome to the Author to Authority podcast. And today we're doing part 2 of a conversation that we started in February with the Authority Gang. So I've got Samantha King, Carol Boston, and Krystle Dookoo joining me. And last month in February was the first time that the four of us had been together in a while. We'd done a couple episodes, the last half of the year, but we weren't all together. And then kind of Christmas hit, here where Samantha and I live in Ontario, we've had very interesting time between COVID and anti-vaxxers, but we won't get into all of that. So we had this amazing discussion and we wanted to catch up on everything us as a group had been doing. So the last episode, we talked to Krystle and Carol about what they were doing. Krystle was sharing with us, how her full-time job was taking up a little bit more time. She needed to pivot in her business and, how she did that not only successfully, but was able to do it in a way that she felt like her joy and her passion was even greater than before. So that was really amazing. And of course, Carol just blows all of our minds and we sit there and she gave us just this amazing talk. And I don't want to give it all away. Okay. So, you got to go back and listen to February's episode. So on today's episode, we want to really focus in on what's going on with Samantha and then a little bit about what's going on with me. And, we're going to talk about lots of different themes because we just never know what's going to come up when the four of us get together and start to share. So Samantha, I know you've had a lot on the go. And so I would love for you to take a little bit of time and share about, what's been going on in your life and in your business.
Yeah, I think if I had to say a thread of our last conversation from February, it really was, I love it when a plan comes together. And you guys know me, I think in TV and movie terms, and that's actually something Liam Neeson said as Hannibal in the A-Team. But
you
really,
didn't watch the original show?
I'm waiting. Amazon Prime is the only one that gets those really old shows. But trust me, like I have watched everything. If it was out there, okay. But I think what I really liked about it was that, for Krystle, the plan coming together wasn't necessarily one she put in motion, where for Carol, it was one she had been putting in motion and planting the seed and building momentum on. And for me, my plan that's coming together really is, about me stepping a little bit of both of what you guys did, right? Stepping into what people are asking of me, really, repeating or echoing what Krystle was saying about like, I got it. Like, this is what brings me joy. This is what I'm excited about. And Carol's, where I've been in this field, especially since the pandemic started, in this area exploring. And so now it's coming together and building on the momentum. So I work with course creators, of course, and you guys know me. I don't buy into the just create that course. I want you to sell it too. And so what we're really moving into in my world is a result of kind of one of the beefs I have with my industry, that everybody in my industry wants you to pay them to teach, for them to teach you how to create the thing, but then nobody's talking about how to sell it. How are we going to sell it?
Yeah, amen.
Right. And so that's what was really going on in my world. And I'm leaning into, as you guys know, I've talked about this a bazillion times probably with all of you, and we're actually doing it right now, borrowing other people's audiences. And using that the traffic that you're gaining to establish your go-to expert authority and bringing people back to your authority island. And then, let's sell it. And we're doing that through a membership we're launching, which is going to be a really fun, really different membership, but it's going to be about, accountability strategies and figuring out which ones work for you. Because back in December, I decided I just needed a break from Instagram. And I go on Instagram to kind of peek and then I feel myself getting like, I really don't want to be on here again. And so I have actually not been on Instagram consistently since the beginning of December.
Oh.
Right. And that's because they got to be everywhere. And oh, by the way, I closed down my Facebook page and my Facebook group because I don't want to be there either. So I've really been taking the time to do the things for me, to find the places for me. You guys know my authority island is my YouTube channel. That's where I hang out. That's where I direct people to. But it's really been about stepping into my power and saying, look, I can't do everything. So I need to figure out what works for me. And I want to help more course creators go through and figure out, hey, yeah, like I like podcasts. I'm going to start a podcast, or I'm going to be a guest on a bunch of podcasts. And that's going to be what I'm going to do. And then I'm doing this, right? It's really been, for me, 2022, especially the first quarter, it's been about simplifying. And that's what's going on in my world. And if that looks like me, not like I still have a Facebook profile, I'm still in other people's groups, but I don't need to be the Facebook person. I don't need to be the Instagram person. I'm going to be the YouTube person. I'm going to be here, and I'm going to borrow other people's audiences and meet them. Like when I was on Carol's Facebook page, right? Or here I am on your podcast, Kim. And that's how I'm going to meet people in these areas.
You know, Samantha, it's funny how, you know, we're all going through this, and yet there's elements of it that, you know, the four of us are tending to share, right? Because, you know, 2021 into 2022, you know, my pivot has had to be completely different. You know, I've had health things going on. You know, the beginning of the year, I've had a woman's issue that I've been battling for 20 years, rear its ugly head again. And, you know, for you ladies listening to this, you know, if this sounds really weird, but if you guys pray, can you pray one thing for me? Can you pray I go into menopause, please? Like, I know women think that's strange, but I've been through so much in the last 20 years. And menopause, once I go through menopause, it's all done. I don't care what I go through in menopause. It can't be any worse than what I've been going through in the last 20 years. So, you know, if you say your prayers, please pray for me. So, you know, my pivot's been a little bit different. I have been moving ahead. It's not, but I've had to really change my focus, change how much I do. You know, a lot of my pivot has been learning how to delegate out more, you know, what I can delegate out, you know, also making sure I'm scheduling proper rest time. You know, I've been very thankful. I've been having some issues with my heart. I have not had an episode, you know, I've not had to go to the emergency since last April. You know, so, you know, 2020 to 2021, that huge wake up call, right? How do I shift now? You know, to still keep my business going, still keep it successful, but, you know, take the demands off. They did all the tests. I mean, I had every test that you could have done for your heart. You know, they said there's a little bit of thickening on the left side, but at age, you know, 50, that's pretty well normal, right? That was the only thing they found. So they looked at me and they said, what's your stress level like? Yeah. So, you know, that's been the pivot for me. But, you know, one of the wonderful things was during all of this, I was finally able to finish my book. And so 2022 is a lot of the focus is going to be on launching this and then using it. You know, I loved what you said, Samantha, about, you know, everyone teaches people how to create a course, but not how to sell it. Right?
But can I jump in there real quick? Because I wanted to say this before you hopped in. That's one of the things that makes Sam unique.
Yes.
She knows how to sell it. A lot of those other people don't teach you how to sell it because they don't know how.
Yeah.
They're only doing for you exactly what they know to do.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to put that out there to anybody who's listening. That's one of the things that separates Sam from the other people in her lane, if you will.
And I think the other thing too with Samantha is she truly cares about seeing her clients succeed. Right? You know, and I think for all four of us, I think all four of us can say the same thing. Yes, we make money. And yes, we make good, decent money. But, you know, our focus is not on the money. Our focus is on getting the results for our clients and helping to improve their lives. You know, I enjoy getting the money. I need to get the money. I need to pay my bills. There's things I need to do in life. I want to leave a legacy for my kids and my grandkids. But, when I'm working with my clients, that's not my focus. My focus is, how can we write the very best book for them? The book that's going to reach their target market, the books that's going to cause them to take action. And so, one of the things I loved what you said, Samantha, was about teaching them not only how to create the course, but how to sell it. And, that's been the goal with this book. The book is not just about writing a book. The book is about, okay, yeah, you need to write a book. And the second book, I think, will actually be about writing a book. This one's more about the author to authority concept of becoming an author, and then what do you do with it? And I think book 2, which is already partly written, will be it's going to be a book on how to write a book. But, the goal of this book is to teach you how to use a book, right? Now, with you, Samantha, you're teaching your clients how to sell the courses. My focus isn't always on teaching my clients how to sell books, because part of the power of becoming an author is getting those words into people's hands. And sometimes the best way to do it is to give them the book. And I explained to my clients this way. Actually, I was talking to 2 ladies who own a very influential women's entrepreneur empowerment group that I've become a part of. And, I said to them, they're in the States, I'm here in Canada. And I said, well, I'll send you a book. And they're like, well, no, don't send us a physical book. Like, just send us an ebook. No, I'm sending you a physical book. Right. And they looked at me, but that's so expensive. I said, really think of this investment. Yeah, I could send you an ebook and most people will kind of read it. I said, but if I send you a physical book, and, for me, it's probably around $20-ish by the time I print the book and ship it to the States. Okay. So I said to them, I said, this is a $20 investment. I said, but if you read this book, right, and I give you the physical copy, and people like physical copies, and you read this book and you find value in it, and you promote me out to your audience. So let's say I spent $40 between the 2 of them. I said, how much do you think that $40 investment is going to make me? And they're like, oh yeah, because if we like the book, we're going to be telling everyone. I said, exactly. I said, so for me to make a $20 investment is worth it, right? So, that's something else I was thinking of too, is the fact that, and I can't remember who said it on the last episode, is the fact that sometimes we have to do things a little bit different. That you have to work with each person and create that customized plan that works for them, because, maybe not everyone can do a podcast. Maybe not everyone can do a book. Maybe not everyone can do an online course. Maybe their starting point is maybe they need to take coaching from Carol to get their mindset and everything in. Maybe they need to work with Krystle on some of the wording and getting that resume strong, getting their LinkedIn profile strong. So I love the fact that, the 4 of us understand that, working with each of our clients is about creating that customized plan that works for them.
Yeah. No, and I completely agree with that. For instance, so with the whole resume stuff and just taking that challenge, right? The resume stuff was things that I always did on the side in conjunction with the LinkedIn. It was not my strongest suit. To be quite honest, like I know the stuff. I feel comfortable one-on-one, but it was always the most frightening and nerve-wracking part of it. But I realized it was a demand. So it was no longer, let me just help you with your LinkedIn. They were like, we want the resume too. And so I had to spend some more time on it and become more confident doing it. But what happened, one of the most important things was realizing that this is what my clients needed. This is what they wanted, and then it helped them feel more confidence in it, to the point now that they're recommending other people. And one of the takeaways that I leave with them is that, listen, because they were like, can you just do it for me? And I'm like, I can. It's going to cost you a lot more money because of the time, and it's labor intensive. But one of the reasons why I love you do have this option of where I teach you how to do it. So it's empowering you that later on, you know these things. And a lot of them, if they're stressed for time, and they were like, we'll just pay you whatever you want, right? So at that point, I don't even have to like outline the benefits. I outline, this is what we're going to cover to teach you. And then they're like, and then I'm like, but if you want me to do it, this is what's going to cost. And they're the ones that are probably just getting into the job field and may not have the money. They would say, okay, I want to learn. And then, or they'll have the ones that'll pay for me to teach them. And I'm like, this was way too much. Can I just pay you to do it? And at that time, it's the same thing with the LinkedIn. I upped my price for my LinkedIn optimization. And I gave her the option to teach her. She just went over it and she was like, yeah, I'm going to pay you just to do it and get it done with. And so I found that when we know, especially after we've all spent time with clients, and we start to sometimes, because I'm like, oh, for 6 years, I'm just social media managing and being a social media manager, and it was taking up my time, my job, which I love, which is still a very important aspect of my life. And the reason I mentioned that, it might be another aspect of in your entrepreneurial journey, it might be something else, family, whatever the other reason, right? That you might have to get into pivoting and then finding out, well, let me take a step back and see where the demand is and where so I'm spending less time. I'm still helping people. When they come back and be like, I'm getting recruiters reaching out to me now. This really stood out. I got an interview. I got a job. Like, that brings me joy to know that, hey, and when you see their face light up, like, oh, wow, that makes sense. And not realizing that demand was there, and it was my fear or do I really want to do this? But I was forced into, kind of forced into taking that pivot. And it's probably one of the best decisions, and I've been enjoying it so far.
Well, one of the big things I hear from all of us, even with just that story, is that we all make sure that we provide value up front and we stay in our lane. We don't try to be all things to all people, which is a big challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs starting out, right?
Yes.
Narrowing down that niche gets really scary. And I know the two coaches that I'm working with on this high-end mastermind, they're like, female family lawyers, right? And then I come back and I've interviewed 2 dozen. I'm like, they don't even know what a mastermind is. They're like, oh my God. And my thought is, think about it. All I got to do is get one up and running, just one.
What the opportunity
with testimonials, and I'll be the go-to leadership coach for female family lawyers because nobody's doing it.
Yeah.
So get in your lane, provide value, and stay in your lane.
The other thing I really liked about what Krystle said was she wasn't, what happens is we tend to like go down these paths and we're like, oh, but I've been doing this for like this many years. Like, I've had a Facebook group or a Facebook page since I started in 2016. But guess what? It wasn't serving me anymore. So rather than trying to slug it out and try to stay committed to it because, I've been doing it for all this time, I went, yeah, that's not serving me anymore. I could be served somewhere else. I'm not going to, I'm not doing, you're really not doing that great. I really wasn't doing much with it anyway. Right. Yeah. But it was it's that courage to stand up and say, yeah, I don't care how long I've been doing it for. I'm not going to keep doing something just because I've always done it that way. Right. Pivoting, innovation. That's where we're at right now. It's 2022. The world doesn't look the same as it did in 2019. Don't be afraid to say that doesn't work for me anymore. I'm out. Because the reality is, and this is one of the things I see all the time, right? The reality is that if you provide value, if you focus on the transformation and you do a good job, because the thing for each of us is, yes, it's not about the money for us, because if we help our clients and make the impact we want to make, the money will follow. Mm-hmm. Yes. The reality is that we're here, we're invested in you. We want to help you because it's not just your time, it's our time as well. Yep. And we like what we do and we value our time. And so we're going to make sure that you get what you need. And that's the same thing we do for us. And if it's not giving us what we need anymore, we're not going to sit in fear and say, oh, well, I have to keep doing it because that's what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
So
And
I'm not doing that anymore.
I think something, while you were talking that kind of hit me is it's okay to be laser focused. And even just like, let's talk social media. It's okay to be laser focused on one social media. This lie that you have to be everywhere, that works for bigger companies who can pay social media teams. Like I read these books sometimes by these, bigger people, whatever. And don't get me wrong, I learn things from them. But I think, yeah, you talk about all the stuff you do on social media, but how much of it are you actually doing compared to how much is your team doing?
Yeah.
Right. I think, when you're a smaller entrepreneur, I think you're better off to find your passion and stay there. One thing that I've had to really slow down on, and, I'm hoping over the course of 2020 that I can, reshift some more things and get back to it, is I've really been enjoying growing my YouTube craft channel. I'm hoping to, monetize it and make money from it. But right now the goal is to build audience, provide value. I enjoy making the videos. It has challenged me to learn new skills in terms of crafting. I started knitting when I was 5 years old. Like I've been crafting in all sorts of different ways since I was young. And it's also always been something that feeds my soul. Right now, obviously with everything going on right now, I've had to cut back on that. But, in terms of building that out, I made the decision that, I was going to build out a good YouTube channel. I have a Facebook page just so I can do advertising. So my focus is not the page, and a Facebook group. And that's it. I will, if I have extra stuff or something and I have some extra time, I might throw a few posts on Instagram just, to keep it whatever. But that's it. And, throw some occasional ones on Pinterest. But my focus is the YouTube channel and the Facebook group. And, I think it's got to be the same way in our businesses. Like I've been looking at, for author to authority, where is my focus going to be? And, my focus is on this podcast. And I've got to get, more focused on getting that out there to people. My focus is in my Facebook group, the Author to Authority Facebook group. And then, so I'm going to have 4 focuses: the podcast, the Facebook group, Clubhouse, and LinkedIn, right? So those are going to be kind of, and each one will have a different area. Now, I made that choice to do 4 because I can, because I have the time. I'm in a stage of life where, I'm Nana now. My kids are grown and gone. I'm an empty nester, loving every minute of it. My husband and I have been married for over 30 years. We have a really good, strong relationship. I can do things, and he doesn't need to be with me all the time. I don't need to be with him all the time. We do spend lots of time together, but I have a lot of time now. I don't have kids at home. So when I get up in the morning, I'm not trying to get kids off to school. I've been there. I've done that, right? I'm Nana. I get to see my grandkid when I want to. I also get to send them home again. Right. So, I have some of that time now to be able to do these things. But I think if you're an entrepreneur and, you don't have that time, don't feel guilty and don't beat yourself up because you can't do these things. Pick one that you love, one that you can focus in on, one that floats your boat and get really strong on there, and then when you're making the money, you can pay a social media team to do the rest.
Yeah. And I always go back to saying consistency. Consistency is, and when you enjoy the consistency, and just to share this little piece of nugget, one of my passions is food and cooking food. And I started up this group about a year ago.
I'm a part of. I love it.
Yeah. And a year later, we're close to 1,000 members that have grown organically, and people just keep adding people and getting involved in the community, because initially I was showing up, I was posting stuff, I was asking questions, and then it started to take that sometimes I haven't been cooking and I go on and there's all this stuff. And one of my friends said, she's like, you do know you're like a little celebrity among this group of people, because then when I say, hey, this is Krystle, and they're like, Krystle, they're like from Jen's Kitchen, they're like, oh my gosh, and so because they love the group. And then now it's getting to the point, just from just showing up, like you were saying with the knitting and having fun and just putting out that content there and building that community. Now people from the group have been requesting, hey, we would be happy to pay to get these cooking classes for these different things that are posting there. And again, so going back to what everyone else was saying, that, you follow that and you develop that and you do it, and you're adding value and you're creating this community where people love. And then it just starts coming where they now want what you're offering.
Yeah. Carol, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what you're doing on Facebook, because your Wednesdays at 5:30 is fun, wild, and valuable.
I was just gonna say, we better talk about Carol's cocktail. I think it was an hour, but now like I can go on there at 7:30 and the party's
I'm telling you, I'm going to have to rein that in. I think I've allowed it to become a little bit too much of a party, but I have a blast. I have a lot of fun, and I am going to refocus it a little bit. Looking at different themes, going to start doing a lot more hashtags so that we can start looking at, potential sponsors, those kind of things. I wasn't, like Krystle said, consistent on last year. But yeah, Carol's Craft Cocktails, we weave in a little bit of business and we make a couple of cocktails. We have fun, but we network, we collaborate. I've helped people meet people there. I've helped people make money there. I mean, even just a couple of weeks ago, a new lady came about 3 weeks ago. And so toward the end of the show, I said, well, ask me anything. What do you need? And she said something about systems. I'm like, Jeff's your guy. Jeff, reach out to Emmy. Emmy, reach out to Jeff. And someone else pops up. Oh, he knows systems. I need systems, right? So we make it where it's a win-win for everybody. And I am going to start driving it a little bit back more towards business, because I noticed, especially during the holidays, it was all about fun. and I started looking at, listen, we're business owners. We got to look at ROI on our time, right? Mm-hmm. And I started looking at prep time. The show was going over an hour and a half before Christmas, almost 2 hours, and then cleanup time. I'm like, okay, Carol, you got to rein this in, because that's a big chunk of time. But yeah, come join me on my personal Facebook page. We have a blast, and let me know. Bring me your biggest challenge. We'll work on empowering questions and bring us your biggest need. And somebody's in that group. And if they're not, somebody in the group knows somebody to help people. So we have a great time with that. And if you've followed this series at all, you'll know I was the girl that said, I didn't want a Facebook page. I didn't want a Facebook group. I don't have one show. I got 2 live shows. So come find me.
I think that just shows you that, the things you swear you'd never do.
Well, it's the subconscious doesn't hear the word not. Think about it. It doesn't. It just doesn't hear it. So all that time, what I was really telling my subconscious is, ooh, I want a Facebook group. Ooh, I want a Facebook show. I just didn't know it. So listen, we create as we speak, and voila, 2 Facebook shows.
Yep.
There's power in the words.
Oh yeah.
Power in the words. Well, we are at that time again where we are going to close this down. So ladies, one last parting thought. Samantha, we'll start with you today.
I think I love what Carol said about like your conscious isn't hearing the not, and it can be terrifying, but you need to also step back and say, you know what, let's look at what's serving me. And if it's not serving me, let's not do it anymore. Let's figure out what is. And really, like Carol said, that ROI, where's their momentum? Let's focus in on that. Don't worry about everybody else. Stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Awesome. Carol.
We talked on the last show about one of the objections that people say is, I don't have enough time. So the question is, what one thing that you're doing now could you stop doing, right? And open up time for something else. So it's really important to look at how you're spending your time every day. And I encourage my clients, Krystle will tell you, start looking at it in 15-minute increments, which is, I had one client go, oh my God, you're putting me in handcuffs, Carol. Handcuffs, I can't do that. But when she finally agreed to do it, I want you to listen to this real quick. She finally agreed to do it. The following week, we have our coaching session. She happens to make a comment that says, I don't understand why anybody would spend 5 hours cooking a meal that somebody's going to eat in 10 minutes and it's gone. And I laughed and I said, well, number one, if you're eating in 10 minutes, you're eating too fast. But be that as it may, you just shared with me that you spent 9 hours on social media content last week for no return.
Yeah.
She was like, oh my God.
Mind
right?
blown.
We have the time if we're willing to look at where we spend the time. Look at where you're really spending your time and is it on the right activities? So the last empowering question I would leave you with in that regard is to ask yourself on a consistent basis, what is the highest and best use of my time right now?
Mhm.
Right now.
Yep. Speaking truth there, girl. Krystle, I almost want to go, amen.
So one of the takeaways from me that I have been asking myself is that, from Marie Kondo, that Netflix woman who cleans up apartments and cleans up houses, does it spark joy? And for me, especially in my business and wanting to move forward and really thinking about what it looks like, is does this spark joy in my life? And I'm not saying that there are stresses that's going to come with it, there are growing pains that's going to come with it, but does it spark joy when you think about what it is that you're doing, when you think about the path that you're going? Does it fill you with joy or does it fill you with dread? And I think so long as you can answer that honestly, we should always follow that path that sparks joy in us, even in our toughest moments. Spark joy, and then you move towards that. And always, especially to bring in, just to think about the pandemic for the past, what is this, season 3 we're on now, right? The past 2 seasons of the pandemic, I would say, you see people lost their lives, you've seen different things. Always make sure that you're working in some time to find something that relaxes you, that brings you happiness, so that it rejuvenates you to keep moving forward in your business and your goal as well, so that you don't get burnt out.
Yeah. You know what? I love what you guys have been sharing. And I think for me is, finding those things that you can laser focus in on. So you get the consistency, which is what Krystle said. And then when you got the consistency, you get what Samantha said, which was momentum. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And when you add to it a mindset, a non-stoppable mindset with Carol's empowering questions, I think we've got an amazing formula here, ladies. So this has been Samantha King, Carol Boston, Krystle Dookoo, and Kim Thompson-Pinder on the Author to Authority podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you on the very next episode. Bye now.